All right, to that point right now, and the timeline for, all of these goodies that Wall Street wants to see happen, to Route 9B Holdings Chairman, of course, the former head of UBS, Joe Grano, on what he makes of all of that. The collective read, Joe, that Wall Street, has a temper tantrum if those tax cuts don't happen. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think, frankly, I would advise the president to go slower.
Wow.
You don't want to take 100 days and crash it into 100 hours, which seems to be happening. I think you need to vet these things a little bit more. I think you've got to educate the American public. I mean, the immigration policy is a perfect example. You come out without setting the stage, and you get all kinds of...
How do you think the president's doing?
I think when he stays on message, like he did with the congressional speech, it was excellent. But then when he goes off into his tweets and tries to be extemporaneous and fight back if somebody criticizes him, that's a huge mistake. And I think he's got to get off.
Would you tell him to not tweet?
I wish I could cut his fingers off, personally. Yes, I'd tell him not to tweet.
All right. So you think he gets easily distracted and gets in the way of... You like the message, right?
Yeah, I think there's a pattern. The pattern is that if he gets attacked or if Sessions gets attacked, then he wants to create some other controversy to deflect it. Yeah. Look at what he said about Cruz's father, for example. Those are the things he does, and that's the pattern, I think.
But he's been trying to make peace with them. He had dinner with Ted Cruz and Heidi Cruz last night. He had dinner with the Rubios. He's made overtures. John Huntsman now is going to be his ambassador to Russia. What do you make of all those efforts?
I look at it as a four-legged chair. One, he wants some smart people, and he is bringing in some smart people.
Yeah.
He wants to reinforce the military. The generals he brought in are excellent. He wants to show that his ego is not as big as people think, and that's why he will do a Huntsman, et cetera, and I think that they are talk to Romney. Now, in terms of having lunch, will he bring in Obama after this latest tweet? I don't know.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was inappropriate, personally.
What if it's true?
Well, it could be. Look, we've got this huge leak right now. I think the country's in a precarious position relative...
You just don't think he should have done it the way he did it?
Without evidence, you should not. Unless you have some bona fide evidence.
Let's say you had evidence. I was talking to people that even if there was evidence, you don't tweet,
then he should have gone,
tweet that out.
Then he should have gone to the intelligence community and the FBI in particular and had him take the lead.
The bull market is 8 years old today.
That's correct.
How much longer does it go?
Neil, I've been off about a year. I'm looking for a correction. Yeah. Right now we're at a historical high price-earnings ratio. I think the Trump effect has helped. Now, if he has to delay or he doesn't get through regulatory reform or tax base or even Obamacare replacement, I think you could see a correction coming. And that correction could be as high as 20%, which you're still at a 16,000 Dow.
Yeah, you're right.
If that happens.
So I haven't had one.
No, I think it's more likely than not.
That we're due for one, right?
And again, I've been early, but I think it's more likely.
But you've gotten a lot right.
No, but I understand. But right now, I would tell you, there's an adage that I used to follow. If a stock is not good enough to buy, it's not good enough to hold. So you tell me what you're going to buy. And if you're not willing to buy, you better not hold.
So young people who look at this enormous run-up, who've been out of this market, and all of a sudden they say, hey, Joe, I want in because I want to be part of this party. You tell them?
I tell them to stay predominantly in cash and leg in on a fundamental basis of companies you really like, and you can dollar cost average. But don't just go into the market for the sake of it.
Dollar cost average means you same amount every month, whatever.
Well, if you like the stock at 20 and you still like it at 15, buy more.
Okay. If the tax cuts don't happen, or if they're significantly delayed, then what?
Then I think you're going to see a correction.
So much of this still hinges on these tax cuts.
And I do think we are the beneficiary of a Trump effect that's been positive since the inauguration, no question, up over 5%.
How do you think a mug's game the markets would be doing if Hillary Clinton were in the White House right now?
Oh, gosh, that's a rhetorical question. I have to admit, I think it would have been more of the same relative to the Obama administration. I think some of those policies were stifling. You were talking earlier about the banks. There are small banks that have a client that's never missed a payment, and the OTC walks in and says, put it in a non-performing category. So they're not going to lend to that type of individual again, or business. So that's got to change. And I think if she were in, you would continue with that kind of...
So we'd be worse off?
I think we'd be much worse off, yes.
Joe, great seeing you. Joe Grano.
My pleasure. Good to see you again.